techniques. So these are inexpensive. You can buy this unit here for about $10 on eBay, shipped, and then you need a power supply. And the power supply that I have here, this particular one is a 3 amp. It's a 12 volt, 3 amp power supply. These run on 12 volts, and you can use, I think, up to 5 on these mini ones. So they sell power supplies, and often in 2 amp, 3 amp, 5 amp. I do have a 5, and it seems to have discolored the coil a little bit, so it might be running a little on the hot side. So this 3 amp here seems to work really, really well. It's a good happy medium, I suppose. I've run the 2 as well, and they all work. So when this thing is on, and I'll plug it in, as you can see, it lights up. This coil will get hot. And so what it's doing is it's switching. These two are switching on so rapidly. I think it's Tesla's law that when you turn on a, it's sciencey. I don't want to. It creates a magnetic field. It's switching these two on so quickly that when you switch them on, it creates a momentary magnetic field, which runs into the coil here and creates heat. You can feel it. It's warm. Something interesting happens, though. In the instructions it says to heat metal it should be 1/10 the size of the internal volume of the coil. So if you're setting one of these up and you're playing around with it a little bit, you'll notice that even if you don't touch it, in the middle, you see the light starts to flash. That seems to be indicating that it's not happy, that it's a little overloaded, because that is more than 1/10 the volume of the inside of the coil. You don't need to put anything in here. Right now it's creating a magnetic field that basically just interferes with other much more harmful magnetic fields like microwaves. This one doesn't interact with the human body the way microwaves do. We've all seen what a microwave oven will do to animal tissue and water. So we know that. So when it's operating normally, the blue light is on, as you can see. And let me zoom in a little bit here. So the power supply, these particular ones happen to come with, and you can touch the coil even though it's hot. There's no electrical current there that I can tell. Though what's interesting is that if you put a multimeter here on the 2 contact points, it'll be reading an AC of about 10 volts. So these 3 amp power supplies, and I will try to link to these in the video description, also on eBay. They came with, typically what they come with is the this standard plug. I believe it is called the 5.5/2.1. That's a male plug. Well, these power supplies, and I wasn't looking for it, but now that I know it exists, it's pretty nice. They came with these adapters that takes that and then just has 2 contacts here. And what you're looking at, this right here, this wire here, is Romex house wire, 14-2 Romex house wire. And I just took about a 1-inch section, and normally there'd be a ground wire in the middle. You don't need that one. I need to strip off just enough wire for it to go into the contacts, and then you screw them down. There's screws on the other side of here. I'll shut it off and try to give you a little bit of a close-up. It's going to be toasty over here. Oh yeah, that's hot. So you can see this is the negative, and I use the white wire just like you would in a house. Over on the other side you got your positive, you got your in and your out. It's very simple to wire up. Most people should be able to figure out how to do it. Now, one of the trickier things is that ideally you should be able to solder. Now you can see that there are contacts here. You would use either side, it doesn't matter which. The problem is on my first one I used the contacts, and because this coil gets so hot it melted the plastic, and I could kind of smell it burning. It wasn't like an electrical short, it was just the heat of the coil. So I saw on another YouTube video where the guy had just soldered them on, because this contact runs around and then goes to this screw, and then this one comes around and goes to this screw. So this is the same contact point essentially. You can watch some YouTube videos on how to solder. Soldering guns are inexpensive. Just a simple soldering iron will do. They have them at Harbor Freight. So you're probably going to have to go ahead and do it that way. I don't really go touching any of this stuff because you do have electrical current in there. But like I said, you can inadvertently touch this over here. What I generally do, I'm only doing this for demonstration purposes, having it on the table. I would never just have it sitting on wood like that because it gets hot. I always have it on a plate like this. You don't want to put it on metal because if you do, that same blue light thing will start happening, and I think it starts freaking out because the magnetic field is being transferred. The metal is like bogging it down, so to speak. So something ceramic like a plate or a Pyrex dish works really, really well. And I'll just go ahead and disconnect. So that's what that looks like. That's it's like, if you're old enough to remember, like a CD player had a plug like that. Again, I believe it's a 5.5/2.1. It's very standard. And then that's your female plug that it comes with. And on the underside, you have a couple of screws there with a positive and a negative there. So you can see, just like in a house wire, although it seems a little backwards, you know, in a home, the hot wire is the black and the return wire is the white. So I did it that way. If you're used to car audio, oftentimes the black wire is ground, but it doesn't really matter which color you use, as long as the two pluses, the plus on there goes to the plus on there. See what I'm saying? So that's that. And these are a pretty kind of slick little thing. Again, they're inexpensive. Now when you get it, these I'm going to call them the doohickeys here. They can get kind of crushed down in shipping, so when I got them, they were leaned over to the side a little bit, and they may have been touching the board on the bottom. So what I did was I just went in, and they're probably still hot. I can't even reach them. I just separated them, stood them up straight, and then kind of pulled them up a little bit to make sure that they weren't touching anything else. But I've used a few of these, and they all work really, really well. And when it comes to these, especially these little ones, and we are not plugged in here, the more the better. And if you put one in each corner of a room, you're going to get some good effects. Now, like all things, anything you do to try to reduce this, almost at first, it might get worse. But only a little, because it's immediately creating, it's almost like magnetic shielding, essentially, electronic shielding. And like I said, put 4 of them in a room, and this will start to reduce your symptoms pretty quickly. I'm actually going to turn it back on because it's nice to be near it. So that's typically what it looks like. These have a nice little power indicator on them. Now these power supplies do get really, really warm, but then again, so does the power supply in just about anything. I've been keeping my eye on them. Typically what I do is I would run them during the day, and I wouldn't leave them unattended, but after a while you see that things been on 4, 5, 6, 8 hours, and nothing weird is happening. So if you feel comfortable with that, you can probably run them at night. Again, disclaimer, I am not an electrician. I do a lot of work. I'm a pretty handy guy, but this is hot, and if it were touching something flammable, it might be able to ignite it. So I would use the same level of caution as a you know, like a candle or something like that. So I think that's pretty much it. That's what they look like. ZVS flyback driver. That's how you solder it. That's what it looks like when it's operating. The light will be on. There's your power supply. Now you don't have to use this thing here. If you have a power supply, you can just cut the wire right here. Inside will be a red wire usually and a white wire. The red is going to be the power, which will go to the plus. The white, you just strip them down, strip back a little bit of this jacket here, pull a little strip off the wires just enough to get in a little bit of metal there, and then you just attach them right here at the screws. It's got the contacts. Those are screws right in there. So that's how it looks. Sorry, get a little up close there, but that's what you're dealing with. It's a pretty slick little setup. Again, you probably have to solder it on. If you're not comfortable doing that, maybe ask a friend. But this is reduced, whatever we're going to call it at this point, electromagnetic hypersensitivity, EHS, Havana Syndrome. This has reduced those symptoms more than anything that I've ever used. I highly recommend them. So please pick up a few of these. I hope what I'm going to try to do is at the end of this have another video where I'll go and I'll look around on eBay and show you kind of what it looks like, and I'll try to post some of the links that I've used just to kind of guide you in that direction. So all right, thanks for watching, and please do comment if you set these up and you're getting some good results. Comment to drive the algorithm, and you know, share the video, share the information, and then post on it, you know, on Twitter or wherever else you are that you're having good results with these things, and let everybody else know, because